Today's reading comes to us from the Gospel of John, the 6th chapter, verses 25 through 35. When they found him on the other side of the lake, they said to him, "Rabbi, when did you come here?" Jesus answered them, "Very truly I tell you, you are looking for me, not because you saw signs, but because you ate your full fill of the loaves. Do not work for the food that perishes, but for the food that endures for eternal life, which is the Son of Man will give you. For it is on him that God the Father has set his seal." They said to him, "What must we do to perform the works of God?" And Jesus answered them, "This is the work of God, that you believe in him whom he has sent." So they said, "What sign are you going to give us then, so that we may see it and believe in you? What work are you performing? Our ancestors ate the manna in the wilderness. As it is written, he gave them bread from heaven to eat." Then Jesus said to them, "Very truly I tell you, it was not Moses who gave you the bread from heaven, but it is my Father who gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is that which comes down from heaven and gives life to the world." They said to him, "Sir, give us this bread always." Jesus said to them, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty." And so ends today's reading.
Rabbi Harold Kushner, who became famous for writing the book When Bad Things Happen to Good People, once told a story about a college student, very competitive student at an elite university, who the summer before his senior year decided to travel to the Far East. The student was pre-med and very, very driven in his coursework and in his studies. And there in the Far East, he met up with a guru. The guru was awfully critical of the student's attitude toward life. And the guru said, "You Westerners, your idea of success is staying up late at night to study for an exam just so that you can get a better grade than all of your friends. But here where we are, we have peace and we share. Will you come and be with us in this area?" Well, the student thought about it for a moment, and then he, after a few days, decided to drop out of college and join up with this ashram. Well, about 6 months later, he sent his parents a very humorous letter sharing with them how he was feeling. I wanted to read it for you. "Dear Mom and Dad, I know you are not happy about my decision, but I want to let you know how it has changed me. For the first time in my life, I'm at peace. Here there is no competing, no trying to get ahead of anyone. This way of life is so in harmony with my inner soul that in only 6 months, I've become the number 2 disciple in the whole community. And I think I can be number 1 by June." In all of life's pursuits, how challenging it can be to ever be satisfied. In my preparation for the message today, I stumbled across a quote from an old theologian by the name of John Chrysostom, who was the former Archbishop of Constantinople. And Chrysostom, in a rather witty and dry, sarcastic way, shared a comment about John chapter 6 that I thought was rather enlightening. He said, the real miracle of this text, when you think about it, what is so provocative about the claim Jesus is making in John chapter 6, when you think about it, is that we could ever be satisfied. I mean, that is what Jesus is claiming to be able to do with humanity. I am the bread of life. Those who come to me will never be hungry. Those who believe in me will never be thirsty. Jesus is claiming to satisfy, yes, humanity. And what do we know about ourselves and humanity? We are not easily satisfied. Just the other night, when tuning into the Olympics, I saw that in Paris, Mick Jagger was a fan in the stands. Remember Mick Jagger in the Rolling Stones and that famous line, "I can't get no satisfaction, but I'll try, and I'll try, and I'll try." We're not easily satisfied. Some days ago, I was reading an article from Fred Craddock, who is a famous preacher and Christian author, and he was talking about how challenging it is in this life to ever be fulfilled, if but for a moment. And he shared a story that I thought was rather interesting that perhaps might apply to each one of our lives. It was a story about a greyhound racing dog. And if you've ever been to a greyhound race or seen one on television, you know that greyhound racing dogs will race around a track, and they will often chase after a mechanical rabbit, a pink rabbit. Well, once upon a time, one of these beautiful spotted racing dogs was done racing, and his owner decided to put a little ad in the paper to see if anyone wanted to adopt the dog as a pet. Well, someone came forward and paid for this dog and was very pleased with this dog as a pet. And one evening, he decided to have a conversation with him. And he asked the dog, he said, "So why did you quit racing?" The dog didn't say much. Said to his dog, "Did you run out of energy?" And the dog said, "Nope, still had some race in me." Said to the dog, "Did you not win enough money for your owner?" And the dog said, "No, I won over $1 million for my owner." Then began to press the dog even further. Said to the dog, "Did you ever get injured? Were you injured in doing this?" And the dog said, "No, they treated me royally while I was racing." And finally, he just said, "Well, why? Why did you quit?" And the dog eventually shared back with his owner, "Well, you know that little pink rabbit that was going around the track? I finally realized that what I was chasing after, it wasn't even real." You ever chased and chased after a pink rabbit in your life only to never find satisfaction? You got a pink rabbit in your life today? Perhaps it's a goal that has just gotten to be unattainable. Or perhaps it's an amount that just hasn't come to be. Or perhaps it's a pursuit that has just left you exhausted. It's into this inability that we have to ever be satisfied that Jesus speaks some rather miraculous and encouraging words. Quit chasing the rabbit. Be satisfied. Know that I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry, and whoever comes to me will never thirst again. Therein lies the provocative claim of Christ, that Christ can satisfy all of us who can't get no satisfaction. I recall as a doctoral student in the area of homiletics that a professor partnered me up with someone in my Doctor of Ministry course who was also studying preaching. And our task in studying preaching and in helping one another preach over the course of a semester was to listen and to provide feedback to one another's sermons. My partner was named Dave, and Dave was a cooperative Baptist in Georgia. And I used to always love teasing Dave. Dave was a really, really great man, and he was a wonderful orator, but theologically speaking, we didn't have much in common. In listening to some of his sermons, I noted that at the end of every single sermon, he would call to the altar. Well, altar calls were never part of my own faith tradition, so I ribbed Dave a little bit because Dave would say the same thing Sunday after Sunday. He would share with the congregation, "It's time for the call to the altar. There is a God-shaped void in your heart that only God can fill." And he said that every Sunday. So I was ribbing him a little bit, and I said, "Dave, isn't that so cliche? Why do you use that phrase every single Sunday?" And he pressed back at me, and I'll never forget what he shared. He said, "You know, Mark, before that phrase ever became Georgia Baptist, it was first High Church Catholic." He quoted then St. Augustine in his book, The Confessions. You know what Augustine wrote? "Our hearts will always remain restless until they rest in God." I am the bread of life. Those who come to me will never be hungry, and those who believe in me will never be thirsty. I'll close this morning with an observation from my own life as my sermon ending took a bit of a detour later this week. The detour occurred when I received a phone call on Thursday morning from a parishioner, and the parishioner was very excited on the other end of the line, and she said, "It's August 1st. It's August 1st." And I didn't quite know what August 1st meant. I knew my birthday was later this month. Maybe she had gotten it wrong. Well, then she shared back with me, "Today is the day where you, minister, have been at the church for a year." And I said to myself, "My goodness, I've forgotten that it's August 1st. And she encouraged me on the line of the phone to share a moment of gratitude for the blessings that have come about in this church. So following our conversation, I hung up and I decided to have, as Jeannie Snedeker shared with the children this morning, a little bit of a gratitude moment with God. I thank God for all of the new people in my life whom I met over the past year. I thank God for all of the ways that you all have been a witness to me of Christ's love and service. I thank God for the progress that this church has made in so many different areas. And it was a very endearing moment. And then after that moment, I just went on with my day. For I'm a person who can't get no satisfaction, so I just decided to worry about my next meeting. And I started to worry about what was going to happen next week. And then I started to worry about the initiative that was coming down the pipe next season. And I began to chase and chase and chase. But I realized that in the quiet of that gratitude moment, there was something that happened to me that was as mysterious as maybe it was miraculous. Just for a moment, my heart rested in God. Just for a moment, I actually sensed that I was satisfied. Good old Baptist Dave, his theology sure was annoying. But I tell you, he got something right about me and my life. There is a God-shaped void in my heart that truly only God can fill.